And now from Washington, the Inside Scoop. All the news the government does not want you to hear.
Welcome to Inside Scoop, Virginia. My name is George Burke, and I'm honored tonight to have two candidates for the Board of Supervisors, John Faust, who's running from Drainesville, and Mike McClanahan, who's running in Springfield. Both of them are Democrats, and hopefully we'll get into a lot of issues that impact Fairfax voters tonight. John, you have an interesting history. I understand you worked your way through college by working in steel mills and on the railroad. That's not something that I think most of us who live in Fairfax could claim. Tell us a little bit about yourself. Tell it to the viewers, if you would.
Well, my name is John Faust. I'm running for Drainesville Supervisor. I was born in Johnstown, Pennsylvania, and that's why I ended up in the steel mills. My father was a steel worker. The way I financed my education was by working at steel mills and on the railroad. But anyway, that got me through college, and I worked my way through law school, and I got an MBA all on my own hard work, part-time for the MBA and a lot of great. But anyway, I'm running for Drainesville Supervisor. I've lived in Drainesville for 20 years. I am married to Dr. Marilyn Jerome. We have two sons, Matthew and Patrick. Matthew is 21 and at Vanderbilt, and Patrick's 18 and at heading into Georgetown University to the School of Foreign Service. I've been very active in the community for most of the time I've lived in the area. I've been president of McLean Citizens Association. I'm with the Environmental Quality Advisory Council. I have been very active in children's health care issues and an advocate for children's health care services, and a variety of other things I've done over the community service activities that I've done, leadership roles over the 20 years I've lived in Drainesville.
Mike McClanahan, you were born in Appalachia. You are what I would suggest is a rarity among Northern Virginians. You're a native Virginian. Tell the viewers a little bit about yourself, if you would.
Sure. I'm a native Virginian. Grew up in the southern part of the state where money was rare. We didn't know we were poor because everybody was poor where I grew up. Been living in Northern Virginia about 25 years. My wife is a lifelong resident, lived here her entire life. As a matter of fact, she can trace her family roots back many, many generations. That's unusual as well here in Northern Virginia. I've been active in my community. I have a passion for sports, coach basketball, travel basketball for many, many years. My son, who's 13 years old, 6'3", we're hoping he's going to make it to college on that basketball scholarship, but we'll see. He's going to be a freshman at Lake Braddock this year. I've also been involved in the community. I serve on the Juvenile Domestic Relations Court Citizens Advisory Council. I've been involved in our gang initiative, our suppression initiative against gangs, and also in teen driving issues. Very passionate about that work. I think teen driving and the problems that we face there are very important, and I'm very happy with the work we do there.
Folks, our call-in number is 571-749-1166, and I encourage you to call in, whether you agree with these guys or disagree with these guys. Let's get a dialogue going here. Mike, describe the Springfield district for us a little bit, if you would.
The Springfield district is essentially an amalgam of neighborhoods that were put together to form a magisterial district. The Springfield district essentially consists of three very separate and distinct areas. You have the traditional West Springfield Burke area, which is the oldest part of the district, and we face some problems there in terms of revitalization of neighborhoods. Those neighborhoods are older. We have a lot of folks who are aging in place, which is a fairly recent phenomenon in Fairfax County. A lot of folks want to stay in their homes, so the revitalization of those neighborhoods, the land use decisions we make are going to be critical in terms of how we manage that in West Springfield and the Burke area. In addition to that, because we have two secondary schools that are combination middle school and high school, we don't have enough athletic facilities for our kids. We have Robinson High School, Lake Braddock Secondary School, and because both of those encompass the middle school and the high school, it creates a vacuum for recreational activity space for our kids. It's an issue we're also facing there. The middle part of my district is Clifton Fairfax Station, which is probably one of the most rural parts of Fairfax County. And we want to maintain the integrity of that area. The people who live there love living there because it really is a slice of country in the middle of what's becoming a more urban county in Fairfax. We have some issues there, one of which being there aren't any fire hydrants there. There's no public water, so putting out fires in that part of the district is a concern, and how we can do it more efficiently. That's something we're going to be working on, and a problem I want to address. The far western end of the district actually includes Fair Oaks, and where the government center is. And there, one of my passions, one of the things I'm going to be working very hard on is getting Metro to move from Vienna and having a metro station at Fair Oaks. I think that's critical to get some of the traffic that we have off of 66. You know, one of the most interesting things about the Springfield district is the fact that Springfield is not in it. So, you know, it's one of the oddities of local government.
John, let's hear about the Drainsville district. I think it's a little more homogeneous, I guess is the word, than Springfield. Springfield's almost like three separate pieces. How about Drainsville?
Well, Drainsville district runs from the Arlington border all the way out to the Loudoun County border. So it's a large land area. We run along the Potomac River the whole way, so we love the Potomac, and we love the parks on the Potomac, and we want to protect those from one end of the district to the other. The McLean area, where I live, is you've got a lot of issues that are spin-off of the growth that we've experienced in Fairfax County. You've got infill development issues. We're trying to protect the character of existing neighborhoods. You've got issues with traffic coming in and out of Tyson's Corner. We've trying to deal with that. And there are just a lot of growth-type issues that are impacting McLean, and will continue to impact McLean as Tyson's develops. An issue that's common across the board will be the Dulles Rail project. I assume we'll talk about that more specifically. Great Falls is one of the most beautiful communities, certainly in Fairfax County. One of the most beautiful communities you'll find anywhere. It's a super community with where the concerns are, again, development pressure. There's so much desire to preserve the semi-rural character of that area, something I believe is absolutely essential to have areas in our county where that is, where we have that type of lifestyle choice available to us. Out in Herndon, one of the major issues will be getting rail to Dulles. There's a transit issue. Traffic, the commute in is very difficult, and again, we'll talk about that more when we talk about Dulles Rail and some of the issues that where I see we need to protect the Dulles Toll Road users from paying for the entire project. There's also a lot of issues out there with neighborhood preservation issues, I would call them. Overcrowding is an issue in some neighborhoods, and we need to we need to focus on those issues. The county needs to support Herndon and the surrounding areas with regard to those issues.
Let's talk about this tunnel issue a little bit, John. There's been a tremendous amount of controversy surrounding it from a variety of issues. There's the tunnel versus the aerial route, and the argument that the aerial route will disrupt businesses for some time within Tyson's Corner and will not allow Tyson's to be redeveloped into a more pedestrian-friendly community. There's the argument that the tunnel came in too late and the federal government won't approve money for the tunnel. And then finally, there's the fact that the costs for this whole project seem to be escalating by the day, and the closer we get to the end of the road, it seems the more that federal money is in jeopardy. Where do you stand on this whole tunnel issue?
Well, I stand firmly behind the effort to get the tunnel in Tyson's Corner. I personally believe in the potential of Tyson's Corner. I believe that it can become a urban center that is walkable, pedestrian-friendly, a place where people really want to live and work. But I believe that we're setting ourselves back dramatically if we elevate the rail through Tyson's Corner. With regard to the current status of the project, I actually, for 26 years, I've done public construction contracts and large-scale commercial construction contracts. So I have a somewhat unique expertise in the area of construction contracts, which means basically I know how to shift the risk from the owner to the developer to the contractor, and I'm concerned that this particular contract, a no-bid, unsolicited, or a no-bid contract by Bechtel, is placing too much risk on the county taxpayers and the Dulles Toll Road users. So the short answer is, and there's an awful long answer to all this, but the short answer is, I believe that the federal government, is looking at it the same way I am, and they're saying the costs are escalating, it's taking too long, and stop and think and look at what you're doing. And I think if we do that, I think we will determine, if we give a fair opportunity and evaluation to the tunnel, I think we'll demonstrate that the tunnel is the way to go. Right now, we have numbers from the Dragados, who is a contractor for the tunnel, that would be less than the contract that we're talking about awarding to Bechtel. So I feel very strongly that, I believe in my heart of hearts we are going to get rail to Dulles. We desperately need it. I believe we're going to do it right, and I think that will be via the tunnel, and I believe that will be at least on a portion of the contract to have competitive bidding. I think that would dramatically reduce the cost and make it far more likely that we would get the federal funding that is currently at jeopardy based on the contract that we're talking about.
You're running against incumbent Republican Joan Dubois in November, and if my recollection is correct, Ms. Dubois voted against the tunnel option. Why do you think that was?
That is a question that only Joan Dubois can answer. The constituency in McLean is so solidly, and I believe in Drainsville, throughout Drainsville, so solidly in support of the tunnel option, so much so that when she cast her vote, she announced from the dais that she would be perceived as turning her back on her constituency. And I believe that's exactly what she did.
Mike, talk a little bit more about, as long as we're talking about Metro and the like, tell me about this idea of expanding Metro to Fair Oaks. Is that a possibility at this point?
It is. It's doable. Actually, the original design of Metro was to move all the way down 66, much further than just Fair Oaks. But if I can get just the rail station to Fair Oaks, the Metro station, because one of the problems that we have, our local government hub is right there in that Fair Oaks area, and we don't have a way to access our local government center through rail. And I think it's important that we at least have that, not to mention the number of cars and the traffic reduction that we would have on I-66, which is a mess. Transportation is a mess. If we're able to eliminate just the traffic that moves between Fair Oaks and Vienna, we will have accomplished a great thing.
Folks, thank you very much. We'll be back with you shortly with Mike McClanahan, who's running for supervisor in Springfield, and John Faust, who's running for supervisor in Drainsville.
Me and Jenny were jumping on it. Mommy's gun fell on the floor. I was a cowboy. Bang, 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 bang. I said, Jenny, wake up, it's just pretend. But she wouldn't wake up.
If you give me a fish.
If you give someone a fish,
you feed them for a day.
Teach someone to fish.
You
feed them for a lifetime.
Give me a fish, and you'll feed me for a day. Teach me to fish, and you'll feed me for a lifetime.
Through Volunteers of America, you can help change lives in your community.
Oh, hey, mister, studied algebra in school and got a better job than I could. You take the last cup.
Oh, no, mister. Stuck in an entry-level job because you only learned basic math. I don't have a boss riding my butt like you do, so you take it so you can get back to your desk.
You know, I probably should, but maybe Miss AP Calculus with the $200 haircut in the big office upstairs would like a cup.
Oh, no, mister. What was your name again? Never mind, it doesn't matter. I'm too busy doing important things to care. I just came down for some sweet and start.
You know, if my limited math abilities weren't keeping me from getting a better job, I'd quit this afternoon.
I don't blame you. But thank goodness you're stuck here because we really need someone to make the coffee.
From Washington, back to the Inside Scoop.
Welcome back to Inside Scoop, Virginia. My name is George Burke. We're joined today by John Faust, Democrat, running for supervisor in Drainsville, excuse me, and Mike McClanahan, Democrat running for supervisor in Springfield. We've talked about a number of issues, but I think we'll get, I want to have Mike talk a little bit about the whole issue of Fort Belvoir and the expansion in Fort Belvoir and that whole BRAC study, as it's known.
Well, the issue with BRAC, actually, we've had some, what we're hoping to be relief from our BRAC issue. Not complete relief, but you know, the impact of moving 22,000 jobs to the Fort Belvoir area. And actually, the reality was about 5,000 of those jobs were actually going to Fort Belvoir, with the remaining jobs going to the proving grounds, engineering proving grounds, which is not prepared to take them. Our congressional delegation has come up with a plan to move part of those jobs to the old GSA warehouses in Springfield near the Springfield metro system. That is going to provide some relief for the proving grounds, and it will also provide a much needed economic opportunity for Springfield. Springfield is an area that could become one of those transit-oriented developments that we talk about and that we want to move to. Moving those jobs to the former GSA warehouse site will provide the opportunity not only for the jobs that will be moving to Fort Belvoir, but also for the jobs that the contractors will provide following them. So we can really turn Springfield into an economic win for the eastern southern end of the county of Fairfax.
I want to remind our viewers that our phone number is 571-749-1166, and we have our first phone call from Jeff in Woodbridge. Jeff?
The BRAC realignment was supposed to be about saving money. Moving the people from Roslyn out to Springfield doesn't save any money. It's a quote-unquote security concern. Are we really going to have more security if they move out from Roslyn?
We're certainly going to have more traffic.
Well, I think that's a great point. I think the reason for the realignment was a security concern. Are they going to be more secure? I'm not sure. I know that the jobs are coming. They're coming whether we want them to come or not. They're moving them to Fort Belvoir. I think it's incumbent upon us to mitigate the impact that it's going to have on the residents who are living there. And that's really the issue at hand as far as local government is concerned. The local residents and Springfield are going to take the impact of the base realignment, and it's up to local government to mitigate that impact on the citizens as much as possible.
Thank you, Jeff. Thank you, Mike. Let's get into an issue that is near and dear to everyone's hearts, and I think most polls of residents of Fairfax County would show it as one of their primary concerns, and that's our traffic problems and transportation in general. John, let's start with you. What's the magic solution? What's the magic wand to solve this issue?
Well,
you'd be king, not supervisor, if you had that type.
First and foremost, I believe we have to begin to balance growth with the available infrastructure. And I mentioned earlier, you asked me about the steel mills, and I'm from Johnstown, Pennsylvania. Well, there's another aspect of that experience that I carry with me to this day. Johnstown was a booming economy, and until steel mills closed, and then the economy was devastated. So I don't think anybody, or there aren't too many people who would appreciate more than I do the strong and growing economy we have in Fairfax County. But having lived in Fairfax County for 25 or so years, I also believe that we have to do a better job of balancing the impact of that growth on our infrastructure. And so first and foremost, to deal with transportation, we have to take a hard look at the developments as they're being proposed to ensure that they either have the adequate infrastructure, and that would be roads and transit, schools, parks, or that the developer or the community is providing the adequate infrastructure to serve that development. We just can't keep building denser and denser and more development without meeting the demands that the development is creating. So that's number one. I'm an absolute believer in transit, and it's not just rail transit, obviously. I think with a good and reliable, dependable bus system, we can get a lot of people to use transit. I know I would if it was available to me on a reliable basis. And there are a lot of other things we can do, such as demand management programs whenever we do development, so that we get more commuters commuting together, that sort of thing. But the fundamental approach is balancing development with adequate transportation.
Mike, before I go to you on this issue, we have a call from Leo in Fairfax. Leo, welcome.
Thank you. Thank you for taking my call. I've been listening to the program, and what caught my ear is the way you talk about Metro. I believe that you certainly imply that the Fairfax County Board of Supervisors has some clout with Metro and what they do and where they put stations and how it grows. I'm interested in the parking especially at the Vienna station, which was cut very significantly almost overnight. When I called the supervisor for that district, I was told the supervisor had nothing to do with it, couldn't help, didn't know who to call Metro and voice my complaint. It would seem to me that the county supervisor certainly knew well in advance that a significant amount of satellite parking was going away and should have been able to jawbone with Metro to provide some alternative other than just try to park illegally or stack them up or just drive around aimlessly and possibly even go ahead and drive into the district. Not helpful. I'll take your answer offline. Thank you.
Certainly neither of these people can speak to what occurred in that particular situation, since it's not either the Drainsville or the Springfield district. But I welcome if they have any response. Let me just suggest that what they're trying to do there, I think, is transit-oriented development, is to have more people live there, live along the Metro, similar to what we have seen occur very successfully along Wilson Boulevard in Arlington under the Metro there, under the Orange Line. The other aspect, I think, is sometimes, and I don't know whether this comes into play here, there is a situation where it's sometimes worthwhile to cut back on parking to force more people to take public transportation to get to that Metro station as opposed to drive there one-on-one. And I think that's also ultimately an environmental concern when you look at that a good part of our environmental air problems here in Fairfax County and in Northern Virginia are the result of automobile exhausts. I'm not sure that answers your question, Leo, but if we had someone here from Providence where that development is, I'd certainly give you a more specific answer, but I don't purport to speak for the supervisor there nor that district. Mike, let's get back to the bigger transportation and traffic issue.
Traffic is a problem. We all know it's a problem.
There's that famous parking lot of Route 66 that runs right by Fair Oaks.
That's right. We have I-66, and I also have 395 and the Fairfax County Parkway.
There you go. Trifecta.
Trifecta. Traffic is an issue. It's going to be an ongoing issue. As a local representative, one of the reasons that I am enthusiastic about representing Springfield and being the supervisor is because you deal on a very local level with issues. Now, everyone is looking at the traffic issue from the 40,000-foot level, and we should be. The State Senate, the House of Delegates, the Board of Supervisors, we're all looking at it from that level. One of the things that I want to do for the constituents in Springfield is look for things that we can do now, how we can provide some relief now. Some things are as simple as making sure we have the traffic lights timed in a pattern to get through Old Keene Mill Road, to get through the Fairfax County Parkway. Maybe we need to extend some turn lanes to move some traffic over at some of our lights. So I want to look at some issues that we can do immediately to provide some relief to the folks that are clogged up on those roads. In addition, I think we have to look at the long-term problem of traffic. And I think, what I do for a living, George, is I teach organizations how to be better managers and leaders. And I think what we need is we need folks in our state government to step up and fulfill their role in providing back to Northern Virginia some of the help that we need to mitigate the traffic problem. Now, we have some of that. We have some new tools in local government and county government that we haven't had before. I'm anxious to see how we use those, and we certainly are going to be able to use the revenue to mitigate the traffic situation. But I think it's incumbent upon the local government, local supervisors to work with our constituency going to Richmond to make sure that they're playing their fair part as well.
Folks, when we get to the second half of this program, we're going to devote some time to talking about these two gentlemen, the opponents, the people they are running against, the Republicans they are running against in November. In the case of Mike McClanahan, he's running against a gentleman named, excuse me, Pat Harity. And some of you may recognize that name from the time when Harity's father was the supervisor in Fairfax, and in fact, for several terms, was chairman of the board. We don't know whether it's like father, like son. Some people suggest that's a good idea. Some people suggest it's not. But certainly, you can look at the fact that they're certainly trying to create another dynasty, and right now we've got the Bush dynasty, father and son. I'm not sure we want another one. We'll be back in a couple of minutes, and I hope you'll stay with us. Thank you.
Some people in Fairfax County don't know what public access means.
Some think it's just another channel on the dial.
But it's much more than that.
It's the voice of the people.
People like you.
Your neighbors.
Your friends.
Or your family.
People who want to share ideas.
Opinions.
Cultures.
Lifestyles.
Art.
Sports. Music.
Events.
Entertainment.
History.
Science.
Beliefs.
People who want to learn about television.
Producing.
Directing.
Cameras. Audio.
Lighting.
Editing. Or radio. Talk. Music.
Whatever you think people should hear.
Public access is the place where everyone has a voice.
And it's the place where that voice gets heard.
A place where you can create your own form of personal expression.
So what do you want to say?
Whatever it is.
You can say it here.
Because we're public access.
For the people.
By the people.
It is about balancing our choices between the gray of the concrete jungle and the stunning beauty of the real one, between a stoic facade of granite and the fury of the canyon. It's why there's EarthShare, the simple way to find balance. EarthShare is the workplace giving program bringing the leading environmental groups under one umbrella. Support EarthShare, support them all. EarthShare. Please ask your employer about workplace giving. To learn more, visit our website.
Thousands of kids in this country have everything it takes to go to college. Accept the money. The United Negro College Fund. A mind is a terrible thing to waste.
Back to Inside Scoop, Virginia. My name is George Burke. I'm your host. Joining us are John Faust, Democrat running for supervisor in Drainsville District, and Mike McClanahan, who is the Democrat running in the Springfield District. Let's talk a little bit about your opponents. Mike, Pat Herity has a name that's well known in Fairfax County. Some people view it favorably, some people view it negatively. Tell us a little bit about your opponent and why you are superior to him. Maybe he'll call.
Well, my opponent believes that we shouldn't be going back to Richmond to ask for the money that we have already paid, incidentally, in the form of taxes, to help relieve our traffic problem. He is a believer that we should use our bonding power throughout the county to pay for our own roads. The problem with that way of thinking is we will essentially be paying twice for the same service. And we have, in Fairfax County, we have a AAA bond rating that we're very proud of. We've been named the best managed county in the country. And one of the reasons for that, and why we have that AAA bond rating, is because we manage money very well in Fairfax County. We do not want to jeopardize our AAA bond rating in Fairfax County. And we have it capped at $300 million a year is how much our bonding limit is. If we had, if we were able to provide bonds throughout the entire state of Virginia, in my opinion, it wouldn't be enough to alleviate the traffic problem here in Northern Virginia. So I think there's some flaw in that type of logic, and I think we need to get a return from Richmond on the dollars we invest there.
Have you run into him on the campaign trail at all yet?
From time to time. We haven't had any sort of formal discourse, debate, or anything like that. But you know, I know Pat. I run into him from time to time.
Maybe we can get both of you back here on this TV show in the fall as we get a little closer to November. John, you were telling me Joan Dubois obviously is a sitting Republican supervisor in Drainsville. You were telling me that she wants to clear cut more than an acre of land within the district to locate a new office. What's that all about?
Well, it's part of an overall problem that I have with the sitting supervisor. I believe in my heart of hearts that a good supervisor listens to their constituents, respects their opinions, and then works hard to see that their objectives are met. Well, this is one example where Supervisor Dubois did not listen to her constituents. It's a secret deal that was made, we don't know when, we don't know how, but the supervisor's office is in the process of being relocated. No public hearings, no input on the decision. That, in my opinion, is bad enough because that's a process thing. You have to involve the citizens. Our community cares. The people in our community truly care about the type of community they live in, and they're more than willing to go to a meeting if something significant is happening in their lives. Well, this is a decision that I consider very relevant, very significant. Where will the supervisor's office be located? Well, we didn't get any input on the decision, but what happened was she decided to move it to the library. And in the process, in order to accommodate the parking, a large parking lot for her new office, she decided and approved cutting down, clear-cutting, 1.5 acres of parkland. We don't have enough parkland in McLean to begin with, and yet she's going to cut down, clear-cut 1.5 acres. Well, when the citizens finally discovered this, which was in January, there was an uproar, and obviously I think it was appropriate that there was an uproar. Recently, she's flip-flopped and said she'll listen to the citizens, but she put us together with the staff, and they tell us it's too late to do anything about it. So this is the kind of thing that concerns me, and I think is wrong. I mean, just flat out wrong. It's no way to operate a supervisor's office. The citizens should have an opportunity to have input on decisions that impact their lives. And she's not giving it to us.
John, when are they expecting to start cutting down these trees?
Well, if we hadn't found out about it, they would be history. The original plan called for it in June, and just the uproar was so great that it was put off. And recently, we had a meeting with the county staff, and they told us, I mean, we have some really brilliant people in McLean who are willing to commit their time, and throughout Drainesville, commit their time to the public interest. These people have looked at this project and come up with an alternative that would allow her to have her office moved, which no one has approved, but to do it while being environmentally friendly, preserving trees, recognizing the impact she's having on the stream that flows right behind the property. And we're now in the process of discussing that. But, you know, whether it's too late or not, according to county staff, it's too late. They can't redo the plans. So we'll see. Time will tell. We're going to work real hard to make sure that this is that this doesn't happen.
Mike, are you, do you think it's going to be a challenge to run against the Harity family name?
Well, I think it's the Harity name. What I've discovered so far in my work in Springfield, when I'm talking to voters, I'm walking door to door, talking with them, that the Harity name, it's a well-known name, but do they really know Pat? The Harity name is known because of his father primarily, and do they really know my opponent? And the issue is what I find is that people recognize the name, but they don't really know what it stands for today. My position is that we don't want to go back. We can't afford to go back. We need to be moving ahead into 2007. We don't want to go back to 1987.
How about in the Drainesville district as you're going door to door? What's the view on Joan Dubois? What are people saying to you?
Well, pretty much what I'm saying here tonight is that she doesn't listen to her constituents. She doesn't ask for our input, and the assumption is she doesn't respect our opinions. She seems to take the approach to governing that you've elected me, now I'll decide what we're going to do in this district. And that's not the way it's intended to work, obviously. The intention is that now you're our representative, you talk to us, you get our opinions, you respect our opinions, you go out and advocate for us. And that's the type of supervisor I hope to be.
Certainly, you know, a supervisor, any government official, whether it's a delegate, whether it's a senator, they have to make some decisions. Every decision they make is not going to always be popular with their constituents. It's an impossibility, obviously. Sometimes you may have inside information or the like. Let's talk about transit-oriented development a little bit more. I know that's an important issue in your district. How do you view that coming about or even working in the Drainesville district?
Well, it's going to work in Tyson's Corner if we do Tyson's Corner right. And that will help, I mean, throughout the county, that transit-oriented development has the potential of helping on the transportation and congestion problems, also has the potential of providing housing. It has potential of preserving some of our open space because it'll relieve the pressure on development outside of the urban core, as they're calling Tyson's Corner. So transit-oriented development is an extremely important planning technique in Fairfax County. What I don't want to see happen is for transit-oriented development to become an excuse for unlimited density growth without providing the infrastructure that's necessary to serve the density that you get. That currently in Tyson's Corner, there's a 3.5 million square foot project that's been approved as transit-oriented development at the Tyson Shopping Center. There are over 20 plan amendments pending in Tyson's Corner that are waiting for the county to complete its study of the Tyson's Land Use Task Force, complete its study. This is all, huge density increases, which may or may not work. I suspect they're going to ask for a lot more than we want to ultimately see, but none of it is going to work if we don't do something about the infrastructure necessary to serve that kind of growth. And the Dulles Rail will help through Tyson's Corner, but we've also got to address the road network. We've got to develop a grid of streets in Tyson's Corner that will allow options for traffic to move around and about, and do a lot of things that will, and in my opinion, add a park in Tyson's Corner. I mean, if you're going to create a city in Tyson's Corner, then let's do it right and create a city with the type of facilities that we come to respect in cities.
Tyson's, is already starting to rival the district as an economic engine in our area. But I'll tell you what, when you're cruising around Tyson's, you can't walk. You have to drive across the street to have lunch.
That's correct.
You take your life in your hands crossing Route 7. Let's go to an issue that I know both of you have concerns about, and I certainly have interest, and it's been an issue that I think we've seen growing in the county with this whole Cool Counties initiative and the like, which Fairfax is pioneering, and I see counties like Arlington are now jumping on the bandwagon, and other counties around the country, and just the entire environmental issue and what we can do to preserve and improve the environment in Fairfax County. Mike?
Well, I think the Board of Supervisors and Chairman Connolly deserve a lot of praise and recognition for taking on this initiative. It's going to make Fairfax County ultimately a much better place. That we live in a terrific place already, but the Cool Counties initiative is not only going to make it a great place to live, it's also going to provide more green space. It's going to be more it's going to be more environmentally friendly. So I think those things are critical. In Springfield District, the Occoquan watershed is my primary concern, and we want to make sure that we maintain the integrity of the Occoquan. Stormwater runoff is a major problem there. The more asphalt we put down, the more problems that we have. So maintaining the environment is critical in Springfield, primarily around the Occoquan watershed.
John?
I join with Mike. I think the Cool Counties initiative is a brilliant development, and I'm excited about it. I think as it spreads across the country, as Chairman Conley and the board envision, it will make a difference in protecting the environment. And as far as my personal interest, the thing that I'm most passionate about, I guess, is tree preservation when it comes to the environment. I have been active on the Environmental Quality Advisory Council. I'm chairman of the Legislative Committee, and for several years we've attempted to expand through legislation out of Richmond the county's ability to preserve trees when new development comes about. And rather than clear cutting, preserve the trees, rather than clear cutting and replacing, preserve trees that are existing. It can definitely be done, and it'll be just leave us with so much better community if we do value and take and go out of our way to preserve the tree cover that we've got.
Folks, our guests today are Mike McClanahan, who's running in the Springfield District as a Democrat, and John Faust, who's running in the Drainsville District as a Democrat. John is facing an incumbent. Mike is in an open race with no incumbent. And we welcome your calls at 571-749-1166. So give us a call and we'll be right back. Thank you.
This is Mommy's bed. Me and Jenny were jumping on it. Mommy's gun fell on the floor. I was a cowboy. Bang, 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 bang. I said, Jenny, wake up, it's just pretend. But she wouldn't wake up.
If you give me a fish.
If you give someone a fish.
You feed them for a day.
Teach someone to fish.
You feed them for a lifetime.
Give me a fish. and you'll feed me for a day. Teach me to fish, and you'll feed me for a lifetime.
Through Volunteers of America, you can help change lives in your community.
Oh, hey, mister, you studied algebra in school and got a better job than I could. You take the last cup.
Oh, no, mister. Stuck in an entry-level job because you only learn basic math. I don't have a boss riding my butt like you do, so you take it so you can get back to your desk.
You know, I probably should, but maybe Miss AP Calculus with the $200 haircut in the big office upstairs would like a cup.
Oh, no, Mr. What was your name again? Never mind, it doesn't matter. I'm too busy doing important things to care. I just came down for some sweet and start.
You know, if my limited math abilities weren't keeping me from getting a better job, I'd quit this afternoon.
I don't blame you. But thank goodness you're stuck here because we really need someone to make the coffee.
From Washington, back to the Inside Scoop.
Welcome back to Inside Scoop, Virginia. My name is George Burke. We have Mike McClanahan running for supervisor in the Springfield district and John Faust running for supervisor in Drainsville. Let's talk a little bit about the current Board of Supervisors. You guys are both Democrats. Jerry Connolly is the chairman, and as such, he sort of sets the tone for the Board of Supervisors. Mike, what do you think of the current board?
I think the board has done a good job on most issues. You never agree with anyone 100% of the time, but I think the chairman has done a good job in leading the board. I think his agenda has been solid. I'm proud to have been a part of the teen driving initiative that was set forth as part of his 6-point plan. So I'm happy about that. I think the board has done a good job there. My supervisor, Mrs. McConnell, is retiring after all of these years, 24 years. And even though she's a Republican and I'm a Democrat, I think Mrs. McConnell has done a lot of good things for our district. And my goal would be to build on what Mrs. McConnell has done, and after 24 years, you know, some new ideas are probably a good thing, but she's been a terrific supervisor for our area. I think collegiality amongst the board, being able to work in a bipartisan manner is critical because that's how you get things done on a local level. It's we don't have the same issues they have in Richmond and in Washington, and this Board of Supervisors has been able to work together. My goal is to make sure that we continue down that road.
Do you think Pat Harity can work together like that?
In my opinion, I think it would be difficult for Pat to work that way. One of the issues is, of course, the fact that he's actually sued the Board of Supervisors over the Route 28 tax district. So I think once you've entered into litigation with someone, then it would be difficult to serve on the board with them and have this collegial manner going on.
John, Chairman Connolly and the board had to make a tough decision on Tyson's Corner, but they stood their ground and made the decision they had to make. We'll see how it plays out as time goes on. But again, give me your view in terms of how you view the overall character of the board and how the board has succeeded or failed over the last several years.
Well, I think character is a good word. I know just about every member of the board, excellent people, tremendous public servants, truly working hard to advance the interest of the citizens. And that goes across the board. I mean, it's not just the Democrats. I mean, I truly believe that the people who, you know, make the effort to serve on the board are doing it for all the right reasons. In terms of the success of this board, I think Chairman Connolly has shown tremendous leadership. The thing I like the most, and without getting into specific programs, is the vision thing, as they say. He has us looking out 20 years in the future. And whether it's his environmental plan or transportation plan, that's so critical for a community like ours to do. We need to be looking, what kind of community do we want to have in the future? And the plans are not just drawn out of the air or just drawn out of the chairman's head. He forms task force and he reaches out to the community and asks for their input. I think one of the most brilliant things that the current board did was to form the Tyson's Corner Land Use Task Force. I mean, that is such a critical part of our future in forming a citizens group made up of 35 people to reach out to the tens of thousands of the rest of us to get our opinion on how Tyson's Corner should be developed is a good thing. So these are very high quality management type successes.
The next week we're going to do a show dealing with the living wage issue, and it's going to be very opportune because it's going to come on the heels of a day of public hearing before the Board of Supervisors. As it stands now, certainly the labor and others are arguing that all Fairfax County employees should in fact receive what they call a living wage. I believe that a couple of counties have passed such a measure. It's $11 and something cents. We also saw a report in the newspapers, I believe it was today, noting that about half of the county employees live in Fairfax County. There's some who argue that they cannot afford to live in a county where the average housing price is now $650,000 or somewhere in that range per year. It's pretty high dollar. Mike, how do we deal with that? Do we push for more affordable housing? Do we push to raise their wages? Where do we go?
Clearly, we have to have more affordable workforce housing in Fairfax County. And I think everyone should be paid a living wage in order to live in the county. As a representative of the people of Fairfax County, I think it's important to do what's best for the citizens of Fairfax County. And in my opinion, having the people who work for the county live in the county in which they work makes a better situation for the citizens who live here. I think having those firemen, those policemen, those teachers live in Fairfax County has them more vested in the community. They live here amongst us, and they're part of our communities, and I think that's critical here in Fairfax County. We don't want to become a county where everyone who provides services to us lives outside of our county. We want to have people invested in our county, people who live here and people who work here. So I think that's a critical issue. And
certainly our firefighters, I come from that business, or that profession, so to speak. Our firefighters here in Fairfax are some of the highest rated in the country. Our police force is nationally recognized, and certainly our schools have for many, many years not only been one of the largest school systems in the nation, but one of the best. John, how about you in terms of the affordable housing, in terms of ensuring that we maintain quality employees and give them a place to live?
Yeah, I mean, the two issues, the living wage, you hear it said that it's a moral issue. I mean, as a society, do you compensate people at a level where they can actually afford to live? And I think we should. I think the county is in a position that we should. I think that to the extent that that increases county costs in that area, then we've got to look at other programs, and we've got to look at, we've got to review everything we do as a county. But the way we spend our money should be based on our priorities. And personally, my priority would be to support the living wage. I think it's that important. In terms of workforce housing, there's been a recent development. The Planning Commission approved a program recently that would, for the first time, bring us some housing units, which are called workforce housing, in high-rise apartment buildings that have an elevator. We've always been limited by the elevator rule when it came to finding affordable providing or requiring affordable housing units in a development project. So there's things happening there that has to be a very high priority of our county government to find a way for the people who live in, who work in our county, who provide, public safety, who are educating our children, who are doing a lot of different important services for the county. We've got to find a way for them to live in this county. That's the kind of community I want. I want a community where, you don't bring your people in, work during the day, and then they can't afford to live with you. They have to go home somewhere else at night.
As we draw to a close, I always like to let candidates do this, but I want to limit you to a minute each. Mike, please tell our viewers why they should elect you as the supervisor for the Springfield District in November.
As your supervisor in the Springfield District, my goal would be to create coalitions amongst the citizens so that we can work together on issues and combat them in those three distinct areas that I mentioned before: the Clifton-Fairfax Station area, the Fair Oaks area, and the West Springfield area. We have, while Fairfax County is a great place to live, I wouldn't want to live anywhere else, we do have issues that we have to combat. And I think it would be arrogant to think that I have all of the solutions. I want to be the leader in the community that brings people together to help work on these issues with me. And I think together we can make a better place to live in the Springfield District. I want to represent the citizens of Springfield on the Board of Supervisors and do what I can to help make Springfield the best place it can be.
John, give us your minute.
Well, first of all, thank you, George, and thank you to everyone who took the time to listen to us this evening. I really appreciate the opportunity to speak to you. I believe that there are two ways that I ask you to look at my candidacy. One is on the issues, and I told you that I'm a supporter of the Dulles, the tunnel under Tysons. I will fight to protect the Dulles Toll Road users and county taxpayers from cost overruns in the Bechtel contract if we go forward with that. We discuss a lot of issues, but the other way I want you to look at my candidacy is to know this. I truly believe that a good supervisor listens to his constituents, respects their opinions, and works hard to see that their opinions are turned to policy and implemented. And I promise you that as your supervisor, I will do just that. Thank you very much.
I want to thank you both for participating this evening, and I also want to thank our viewers for staying with us for this period of time. This is an important race. These are both important races. I look forward to November.
Me too.
Me too.
Thanks, George.
And beyond.